Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom, and happy Sabbath to those that keep it today. Got a Sabbath lesson for everyone entitled Reverse the Curse, right? Reverse the Curse. This lesson is going to be hopefully, Lord willing, edifying to our people and to those that watch this video. And if you share this video, to those that you share it with. But it's going to be targeting generational curses, right? I want to go on record and say, you know, when we wake up to the truth and we read about the curses in the book of Deuteronomy 28, right? We've kind of made that chapter famous, right? The chapter of Deuteronomy 28. But what I want to say is this. I want to say that chapter does not claim those to be generational curses, right? Now, what I'm saying is this. We can see them as generational curses. I've taught them on the street corner as generational curses. We see them as generational curses because it applies. But what I'm trying to say now to you guys is it never said that those were generational curses. It said that we would still see those curses till this day for sure. But from an individual standpoint, we can reverse the curse. We're going to go into that today in some prophecy today. And then also think about some things that we know being Bible scholars, right? We know the wages of sin is death, right? We know that if you sin, judgment's going to come, death is going to come. But if you don't sin, right, what's the wages of not sinning? What's the wages of being righteous? It's life, right? And so when we say things like you can reverse the curse or these generational curses aren't really curses, for example, you just might have to get rid of that old recipe book that was passed down from generation that has nothing but swine and raccoon and squirrel soup, right? And seafood boils, right? You got to get rid of that. Something funny, I'm gonna say this. And it's lighthearted. I doubt my mother-in-law will watch this video, but she always makes the joke about how big ankles running the family, and she's just waiting for my wife to get big ankles. But the thing is this: do big ankles run in the family, or do bad habits and bad diet run in the family? Right? What is causing those big ankles? Because my wife don't have them. You know what I'm saying? So what I want to say is a lot of times these generational curses befall us because why? They befall us because we want to keep doing the curse. We want to keep doing the sin, right? A lot of times we blame our ancestors, but we can't blame our ancestors all the time because we're still in the same sin, even small sin. I'm talking about from cutting our beards all the way to prostitution, all the way to idolatry. Right? We cut our beards. That's a small sin, but it's still a sin nonetheless. Prostitution. We see OnlyFans is a normal thing. We see going to the strip club and paying for girls to take their clothes off is a normal thing. That prostitution is a sin, right? Idolatry, worshiping and rubbing on crystals and, zodiac signs and becoming Buddhist or Muslim or, getting into Egyptology. We see all this as sin. So we can't blame our ancestors when we're currently living in the same sin, right? That generational curse would stop if we stop sinning. We see it because prophecy and these curses and these rewards are cyclical, meaning what? We see over and over and over again. When our nation did bad, what happened? We went into slavery. And then when we repented and we prayed and we got on one accord and we said we're going to do as our father David did, what happened? We got blessed. And then we fell again because of sin, and then we repented. So we see if we were to get on the same page right now, right? I know it seems impossible and it probably won't happen. Only a remnant of us is going to be saved. But if we were hypothetically to get on the same page now and stop sinning, these curses would stop, right? Now we do know that there is a generalization of these curses that affects the whole nation, right? For example, Daniel, even though he was blessed by God, he was still in captivity. He was still subject to a different king. Now he was blessed in that land, right? The 3 Hebrew boys were blessed in that land, right? And they were made, they had higher positions, but they were still cursed, right? Because of the general curses on the nation. But individually, we can reverse the curse. I want to say this. Before we get started. I'm gonna show a comment that I commented on a Instagram post. I would play the video, but I don't think the video is very fitting for a Sabbath lesson. Maybe for a weekday lesson, but trying to keep things holy, right? But I'm gonna share what I commented to the brother before we get into the lesson. All right. Um, Before we get started, I want to give all glory and honor and praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who sent his son as an instrument of salvation for the nation. And that nation is Israel. Let's get into it. We're the hopeful elect. I'm Brother Azrael. Alongside me, got the 2 brothers, Isaiah at the top, Denal at the bottom. And I'm sure they're going to add onto this word today. I'm going to read this comment for y'all real quick. Bear with me, because like being on an Apple laptop at that, everything is like touch sensitive, man. You can't do nothing, man. All right, I'm gonna read from the top. I said to the brother, so a rundown of what the brother was saying in the video. He was saying, "What God is this? What God is this that would cause us to go to slavery? That would cause our little girls to get raped? That would cause us to wear chains? That would cause us to get lynched? What God is this?" And everybody keep telling me he was trying to teach us a lesson. What lesson was taught? Because I don't see no lesson taught. We still in oppression. X, Y, Z. So he was going on a rant like that, right? He used some choice words and some things like that too as well. A lot of our people are blind. They can't see. They don't understand why, because they perish for lack of knowledge. So I'm telling this brother right here, all you got to do is read if you want to understand. But the problem is our people don't want to understand. They want to give into their own thoughts. All right. I said this. Read the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. To speak on this topic, you can't go off of emotion, trauma, or opinion. Because if you go off the flesh, man, things gonna look one way. You gotta always, we walk by faith, not by sight. Right? The things that we see could be bad, right? But we gotta look or dig deeper. Can't go off of emotion. Emotion will have you switch up and choose a different God, right? And not evaluate the situation at hand and the things that were written, right? I said this. I said, we made a contract with God. Our people are the people of the Bible. It's a big history book for us. In the Bible chapter, it's telling you to read. I'm telling you to read. I misspoke. In the Bible chapter, I'm telling you to read. God was very descriptive in the good things that would happen if we obeyed him, and also the bad things that would happen if we did not. He did not allow it to happen or make it happen to us. Our ancestors did it to themselves. You can tell your daughter not to do OnlyFans and your son not to do crack. If they do it and she gets stalked and raped, or he becomes a junkie and winds up in prison, it is not the parent's fault. It is the child's fault. I said that because we can't blame God for the actions that we chose to do. We knew the repercussions. We knew what happens. We know what happens if you smoke cigarettes. We know that you got a possibility of lung cancer. So you can't be mad when you get lung cancer and blame God. You got to blame yourself. We can't blame God for what happened, for example, in the transatlantic slave trade, because we understood if we didn't keep God's laws, that was going to happen. So we have nobody but to blame for ourselves. God didn't. And so the brother in the video was saying, why would God allow that to happen? Why did God do that? God didn't allow that. We allowed it to happen to ourselves. God didn't want that for us. We wanted it to happen to us, right? The last paragraph, it says, it's not God's fault, it's ours. We have a culture that is centered around breaking God's laws, adultery, worshiping crystals and other gods, homosexuality, till this day, and we're reaping the benefits of our ancestors and our own doings, right? We cannot keep blaming our ancestors, right? We cannot keep blaming them because we are in the same sin today, right? Them generational curses are happening not just because of our ancestors, but because of what we're doing till this day, right?
A lot of people want to, you know, have their cake and eat it too, in the sense of they want God to be a big dummy. They want God to be a unconditional lover, and they want to be able to do what they want to do, and have God still shower them with blessings and still love them no matter what. Kind of like the colloquial Christianity doctrine is today, right? And so they want to live life with no consequences. The problem is, man, utopian mindsets don't exist, right? It's all fairy tales. You can't pour your whiskey and drink it too, right? There's a constant reaction to every action, and so just like the brother gave the analogy of parents, it's the same thing with God, right? Don't expect him to treat you um, with love, compassion 24/7 when all you have been is rebellious, right? It just doesn't make any sense. You and honestly, if you think about it, you wouldn't want to serve a God like that. And if you do, you're really just a narcissist, right? You're selfish, you're a narcissist, right? And you don't want to live in reality. And that's why a lot of people have bad lives today. That's why a lot of people end up in prison or in bad situations, because they feel like they should be able to do what they want to do with no consequences, right? And so when you look at that, it just sheds light on the mindset of our people, so-called black people, right?
Can I
Now, go ahead.
well, I don't know if you have it or not, but can I pull a precept?
What's the preset?
It's in Jeremiah 16.
Nah, I don't have Jeremiah 16.
You can start at verse number you can really start at verse number 9. You can keep it wide.
It's much
Because
like it's much like what's the name too, man? Like nowadays they preach if your son or your daughter becomes a homosexual, you got to accept them and love them and do X, Y, and Z and encourage them on their path. It's the same way they want God to be, right? And a lot of people transform God and they bring God into the equation when those situations arrive, right? But that's just not how it is. You can't make something appear in the Bible that's not. You can't make God to have characteristics that he doesn't. And as parents, man, we have the right to have input in the way our children's lives go, right? Whether they take heed or not, that's on them, like the brother has said earlier. But at the end of the day, man, you can't just do what you want to do.
right. Can we I know I'm not spearheading the lesson, but can somebody read this for me starting at verse Jeremiah 16 starting at verse 1?
Uh, Jeremiah 16 and 1. The word of the Lord came also unto me, saying, Thou shalt not take thee a wife, neither shalt thou have sons or daughters in this place.
Uh-huh. Read verse 3.
Verse 3. For thus saith the Lord, concerning the sons and concerning the daughters that are born in this place, concerning their mothers that bear them, and concerning their fathers that begat them in this land. Verse 4. They shall die of a grievous death. They shall not be lamented, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by the sword and by famine. And their carcasses shall be meat for the fowls of heaven and for the beasts of the earth.
Now this sounds bad, right? Because like the brother Azrael was saying, when people like to blame God and they'll read stuff like this and see, God did this to us. He said we shall die grievous deaths. But why is he pronouncing these? Why is he, I guess you could say, speaking these curses over our people? Why is he giving this prophecy to Jeremiah? Let's jump down to verse number. Let's jump down to verse number 10.
And I also want to say he still prefaced this by giving you instruction. God always gives instruction. It's up to you. If you want these things to happen to your wife and to your kids, that was on you. Because in verse 2, he says, you're not supposed to. He said, don't take a wife right now in this generation. Don't have no daughters or no sons in this place. Right? So you can't blame God when he gave you the warning. You say, what verse?
Jump down to verse number 10.
Verse 10. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt show this people all these words, and they shall say unto thee, wherefore hath the Lord pronounced all this great evil against us, and what is
Right.
our iniquity?
Look. People are asking this question even in today's time. You know, why would God say this? What is God doing this for? Why is he putting us in this position, right? Let's keep reading.
Wherefore hath the Lord pronounced all the great evil against us? Or what is our iniquity? Or what is our sin that we have committed against the Lord our God?
Right. See, people don't read the book of the law, like the brother said. They don't read the contract we made with the Most High God. So therefore, you got people even in today's time asking the same question, right? What is the sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? What sin did we commit for God to do this to us, right? Now let's go to verse 11.
Then shalt thou say unto them, because your father has forsaken me, saith the Lord, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law.
Right. So, like the brother Azrael saying, we made a contract with the Most High God, and we chose to break that contract. Therefore, we were given over unto the ways of the Gentiles or the ways of the other nations, their gods. That's why you see certain things happening to us even until this day, because we fail to realize the wrongdoing of our actions and we choose to blame the Most High God. He has always held firm to his word. We are the ones who broke the covenant, and therefore we're suffering the things. And it's not like the brother started off the lesson by saying, some people tend to think, oh, this is just, it's supposed to be like this, like it runs in the family. And they just say that as a means to just pass it, oh, everybody goes through it, right? But it shouldn't be like that. It should not be this way, right? And if the reason that it's still going on today is why. Read verse 12.
Verse 12. And ye have done worse than your fathers.
And ye have what?
And ye have done worse than your fathers.
So we have done worse than our fathers. Our fathers were breaking the commandments, right? We have done worse. And this was a prophecy given during the time of Jeremiah, which we're way far removed from that time. But yet at the same time, if they did worse in that time, I don't have to imagine. I don't have to imagine. We have done way, way worse than our fathers because, like the brothers were saying, we allow our children to be gay because the world tells us we have to accept them that way, right? We don't speak against homosexuality like we should because people are sensitive and we don't want to offend nobody. We don't remember the covenant that we made with the Lord our God. So therefore, we're allowing our children to rule over us, like it also prophesied in the book of Isaiah. A lot of things are happening because we fail to uphold our end of the contract. We fail to acknowledge our part. Like the brother Denar said, we're kind of narcissistic in a sense. We can't do no wrong, right? Especially our people. It's worse with our people because our people feel like we're the most spiritual, but at the same time, because we're the most spiritual, we got to be the most accepting to any and everything, right? Our nation is a nation full of harlots because we allow all these doctrines, all this confusion and madness inside of us for the sake of wanting to be the person that loves everybody, right? But let's finish this out.
Verse 13. Oh,
Wait,
never
wait,
mind.
finish verse 12 now.
Verse 12. For behold, ye walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart, that they may not hearken unto me.
And that's why you have people that don't understand the Bible, is because they don't read it and they don't understand the contract we made with the Lord our God. Therefore, it's a hard thing for them to conceptualize some of the things we go through. Saying that to say, a lot of people will tell you to stay away from the Bible because of their own heart or their own opinions that they make up by going on rants like the dude put on social media that blame God for our people being in these situations and circumstances. And I'll say this before I yield: people make me angry when they say stuff like that, when they don't realize, who was it or how did we get in this position. It makes me angry. Why? Because people will say they don't want to serve a God that will put us through these trials and tribulations, right? But you're telling me that you're okay with serving a God that sat back and watched all this happen to us, right? So if our God is bad because he allowed us to go through it, right, for layman's terms, then how better is the next God that you want to serve that they sat back and they didn't even come in and step in and go to bat for us, right? It just doesn't make sense, in my opinion. And that's why it's important to go back, read the covenant, read the laws, because again, you'll save yourself the heartache, the headache, and you'll educate yourself on why these things be, right? But I yield.
Oh man, I'm trying to find something. Bear with me real quick. I'd have to find it, man. But I know it's in the same conversation. I don't know if it's Jeremiah 15 or 17, but it's in the same conversation with the people talking to Jeremiah. And they pretty much said, you know, if God gonna treat us like this, we might as well go back to Ashtoreth and Baal and the other gods we were serving. And that's what our people do nowadays too. You know what I'm saying? They ask these same questions, and when they have no knowledge because they don't read, they go back to other gods and other wicked things because they think the grace that they had when they were doing those things, they think that was coming from those gods, not knowing that God was just giving them enough rope to hang themselves with. Like Ecclesiastes, what is it, 8 and 11 or 11 and 8 says, right? He lets you continue to do an evil work, but it's still, your judgment still comes, right? And, you know, that's just something that our people go through is denial. And we always want to look for our benefit. Oh, if our God's not going to benefit us here, we'll go to another God. And that's how we keep them curses on us. But Khan, like the brother said, man, that was a mighty precept. That would have been a good closer, but it's an even better opener, just because it's telling you plain, hey, it's not just what your forefathers did; it's what y'all continuing to do. You can't, you can't blame somebody if you know right from wrong. If you 9 times out of 10, if we had bad parents, we know that they were bad parents, so we have no excuse because we already know they were bad parents, right? It was something. It was a picture that went viral of a man that was on death row, and this man that was on death row, he wrote a letter to his mom, and he pretty much was blaming his mom for him being on death row, and he was like, "Remember that time I stole that candy bar from my cousin and you didn't say nothing? Remember that time where I was in middle school and I got into that fight and you defended me and didn't tell me I was wrong for picking a fight? Remember that time where I lied to my principal and you backed me up? I just want you to know all that led to me being here today. And the reason why I'm being killed is because of you. It's your fault. And by the time you read this, I'll be gone." You can't blame your mom if you knew everything that you was doing was wrong. You just read her a list of things that you knew was wrong, whether she corrected you or not. You knew they were wrong. So guess what? God's going to return that on your own head. And that's what we're going to read about, right? If we could read this real quick, Jeremiah 31 and 29. Now, this is supposed to be an encouraging video still, right? I want to encourage us that we can reverse these curses. We have the power, right, to reap life, right? We have the power to break these generational curses, right? And the scriptures and the prophecies convey that. You just have to understand what you got to do, right? Let's get this. Jeremiah 31 and 29.
Jeremiah 31 and 29. In those days they shall say no more, the father have eaten a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge.
Right? You know, when you eat something sour, you make that face, or when you put your teeth edge to edge, like right? You grimace. When you have that sour grape, that's how it feels when like the precept that the brother just read, right? In verse at the top in the verse 4, right? Die in grievous deaths. It makes you cringe, right? They shall be lamented or mourned. They shall be buried, right? They shall be as dung upon the earth. We're going to be seen as poop, as shit. We're going to be seen as that. That seems like, why would you do that to us, God? They shall be consumed by the word and by famine. We're going to have famine, pestilence, disease. Their carcasses shall be meat for the fowls of the heaven. You're going to allow animals to eat our carcasses, right? That sounds very crazy and it's cringeworthy. Why would God do that? Even the video that I'm talking about, the brother posted, right? Why would God do that? He is literally, his teeth are set on edge because he doesn't understand, right? And that's what this is talking about, this analogy, right? Verse 30.
Verse 30, but everyone shall die for his own iniquity.
Read that one more time.
But everyone shall die for his own iniquity.
And that's what Jeremiah 16 was saying. Hey, y'all can't blame y'all forefathers and your ancestors. Y'all still committing iniquity. Keep reading.
Con, every man that eateth the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge.
Right. It's the person that eats the grape that's going to be set on edge. If you want to eat that sour grape, that's cool. That's on you. I like the purple grapes, right? Why my teeth got to be set on edge? Why I got to be cringing from something that you tasted?
Yeah,
right?
it kind of reminds me of, little kids, man, that don't really know about different tastes, I guess you could say, right? And when they got their hand out and for something sour, like a Sour Patch Kid, or maybe they I've seen videos where they want some of that, the real lemon juice, whatever. You seen them videos of the kids eating Sour Patch Kids, that real lemon juice, or what are those the little I think they were sour heads, right? The sour head little hard candies, right? And people get the reactions all the time. They think it's regular sweet candy, right? And they reach
Talking
out
about
for
warheads.
warheads, yeah, warheads, right? They reach out for it. They're happy. They put it in their mouth, and instantly it's that judgment, right?
That
That's
keep
what you get for being. That's what you get for being so greedy, right? And it's the same thing, like he was saying, man. Anybody that reaches your hand out for that warhead, your teeth are gonna be set on edge, right? That's what comes with it. You can't stop that sourness from coming.
right. For example, this is really kind of talking about who Adam and Eve. Just because Eve ate the apple didn't mean that you had to. You can't blame Eve now. You can't blame your forefathers. You can't blame the people that came before you that did the sin before you because you're doing the same thing. you can blame Eve all you want to. You bit the apple too. You could blame your forefathers for breaking the commandment of uh of serving another God. You serving another God too. You paying attention to all these holidays and zodiacs and all you praying you doing stuff unaware too. You think your forefathers was doing it awareingly? You think that they knew? When you read the book of First Kings, Second Kings, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, you read the books of these people. They were generationally serving Baal from birth. They think that's what they're supposed to do, right? When it talks about the king and this king did as his father did, he did evil inside of the Lord. He thinking he upholding tradition. He thinking he doing the good thing. This is what my father would want me to do, right? They were doing that stuff a lot of times blindly. They didn't know. So that's why when what's his name? Uh when Jehu called everybody to the house and said, "Hey, if you serve by all, come to the house." People was coming proudly. Jehu he was instated as the new king. They was coming proudly because they didn't know nothing was wrong. That would be like me if I said, if God put it on my heart to kill everybody that worships that celebrates Christmas, and I rent out a ballroom and I say, "Hey, we finna have the biggest Christmas party in town." And I invite everybody to come to the Christmas party. Y'all think it's Jesus is the reason? Y'all think it's the holiday spirit? Y'all think y'all gonna have a good time? You bring in your kids, your wife, and your grandparents, and everybody coming in they colorful festive clothes. Same thing that Jehu did. He said, "If you serve by all, come to the building." And then when he said he closed the doors and he burnt up everybody that was serving by all, and that would be like me closing the doors and burnt up everybody that celebrated Christmas, right? So what I want to say is this: you can't blame your forefathers because just like you can claim that you didn't know, a lot of your forefathers can claim they didn't know. But it's all who eats the grape, who eats the apple. It's on you. You know right from wrong if you read. But that's why it says our people perish for lack of knowledge.
Con, I want to add too, if you go watch, I mean not watch, but if you go do a little research, right? There's this thing called Operation Flagship. If y'all can go look it up, man. Operation Flagship. And it's pretty much in the 80s, the Washington Redskins, which are now known as the Washington Commanders, they did a big roundup of wanted criminals, right? So what they did was they sent out chain letters, right, to these criminals. It was a chain letter of a sweepstake, pretty much saying that they won free tickets to a Washington Redskins game and they got to meet at this place at this time, at the facility at this time, right? So it was an actual game, I believe. But what they did is they had the criminals go to a different part of the facility and they rounded it up, making them think that they had won a prize. And then what they did was, soon as everybody got in there, they arrested them and sent them to jail, right? All because, again, they were breaking laws. And that's pretty much like the brother was just alluding to. We can see that happen in the actual physical world. So if it happens, in the world of sports, how much more do you think the Most High God would do the same thing with us? if we continue to break his laws. He's going to round us up and he's going to destroy us, right?
Right. Because ultimately you took that ticket. Even if it was a free ticket, you took it. Right. If anybody had discernment, they might be like, hey, something kind of fishy about this. I don't know. It's like with the Popeyes chicken sandwich. Anybody that got discernment might be like, I don't know too much about that, man. I don't know if I want to get in that big crowd, man. Then you find out, you go to the Popeyes chicken line, and now your family getting news that you're dead because somebody shot you in the line, right? You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing. You pick and choose. You got to have discernment, man. You can't be blaming people for stuff because we're judged by what we do, what we say, not what the other person say, right? I was giving somebody some counsel on a topic of marriage, and I was telling the lady, I was saying, hey, it doesn't matter if you see that man as worthy to submit or not, right? And she told me, well, it wasn't until Christ sacrificed himself to where the church submitted to Christ. And I told him, I said, that's not how you look at that. You look at it as Christ said, forgive them. They know not what they do. So Christ was taking on the role of a husband, just like a husband has to provide and protect regardless of his disobedient wife. The same thing with a wife. A wife got to be submissive, even if the husband's a fool, right? Look at Abigail, right? I told her, I said, what we do in this life has no relationship to how people treat us or what other people do. God's going to look at what we do and if we're following instructions, right? And that's why it's talking about, if you eat the sour grape, the person that eats the grape, they shall be set on edge. But this is what the brother was talking about right here, which is, they probably read the Bible and saw Jehu, the story of Jehu, and they probably was like, you know what, we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna do it at a football game. I'm gonna try to see where that give y'all homework, man, so y'all can read that while this plays.
In the 1980s, people were passionate about the Redskins.
Hey, out to the Redskins! From RFK Stadium, this place will be rocking today.
You got a winning championship team.
The Washington Redskins have an NFL championship.
To try and get a ticket is almost unheard of.
In 1985, there was a waiting list for season tickets for over 25 years.
The 149th straight sellout.
To celebrate our new cable station, Flagship International Sports Television, we awarded several tickets.
We picked out 3,000 names to get free tickets to the Cincinnati Bengal Washington Redskin game.
This was a great day for anyone in Washington.
Today, from Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium in Washington, D.C., it's the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Washington Redskins.
My name is Howard Safer. My job in Week 15 of the 1985 season was to oversee a marketing operation to get people to come to the Washington Convention Center to get free tickets to the Cincinnati Bengal Washington Redskin game.
My name is Bob Leshorn. I was the CEO and general manager of Flagship International Sports Television, the hottest cable station in America.
Congratulations, Mr. Watkins.
This was going to work.
Little did they know.
We'd like to welcome you to the Flagship International Sports Television inaugural celebration.
The hook had been set, and this was going to work.
Little did they know they would not be going to the game.
On behalf of Flagship International, we're really have to make some applause.
Everybody's under arrest.
My title in 1985 was Deputy U.S. Marshal.
I was Associate Director of Operations for the United States Marshal Service.
I was the Deputy Chief of the Enforcement Division.
I was the Chief Deputy United States Marshal for the District of Columbia.
I was Chief Enforcement Operations for the Marshal Service.
I was the United States Marshal for the District of Columbia.
Right. And you notice too how they gave fake positions, right? Sometimes you got to think like it says in Hebrews, sometimes we entertain angels unaware. And I'm just making that comparison to say, you never know who you're in the presence of. So it's always good to remember that because we have a covenant that we should follow and keep and take hold to, you always got to do the right thing, even when you think no one is watching, or even if you feel like nobody that knows that you're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z is here or around, right? You always supposed to do the right thing because it can come back to bite you. Them same sins that you committed, right, is going to come back and accuse you in that day. And it'll be, I don't know how, the judgment day will go or what it look like, but what I'll say is like, it'll be crazy if some people that you committed some of those sins around end up standing right before the throne accusing you of this action, and they were an angel that you didn't know about.
Gone, man. And that goes to show you're always being watched, right? If the DEA, if the FBI can watch you, and this was back in the day, this is before they had video cameras on Tesla trucks and Tesla cars. This is back in the day. If they can watch you like that, imagine how God can watch you, man. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting away with nothing. So when judgment finally does come to your house, you can't even question. Don't even question. You see how a lot of them men, right? They didn't even argue. As soon as he said everybody's under arrest, what they all do? They all said this right here.
Put their hands up.
They all did, because you know what? They know they did the crime. You know what I'm saying? They knew they'd been caught. They like, dang, man, they done played us, right? So when it comes to you, you got to understand, when God called your number, you the one that ate that grape. You the one that brought that curse on your life, right? When you had the option to reverse that curse, right? Let's read this real quick. Ecclesiastes 8:11.
Ecclesiastes 8:11, and it says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of sons of men is fully set in them to do evil.
Right. And so them men were so comfortable. They took them free tickets. They showed up in public. They forgot all about what they was, the evil work that they was doing, because it wasn't executed speedily. Because you might make history with how your judgment befalls you. God may be using your judgment to prove a point to people, right? So that's why you shouldn't be doing evil work at all. Because just because you get by one time or two times, that don't mean that you escape judgment, right? You eat the sour grape, you're gonna reap the benefits. Right? Let's read this real quick. Ezekiel 18. We're gonna start at verse 1. We're gonna go through verse 9, right?
Ezekiel 18, Ezekiel chapter 18, starting at verse 1.
You're muted, Diane. But yeah, come.
It says, the word of the Lord came unto me again, saying, what mean ye that ye use this proverb concerning the land of Israel, saying, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge.
Right. So now we're going to get the meaning of that analogy. What is that? What does it mean that the fathers have eaten sour grapes and their children's teeth are set on edge? Right. It's been explained.
Verse 3. As I live, saith the Lord God, ye shall not have occasion anymore to use this proverb in Israel.
Right. Now, we're going to get it in the law, but even up to this point, it wasn't supposed to be so, right? But God is just saying, look, I'm going to give y'all a message, and I'm going to set things back in order, because it was never supposed to be like this, right? Verse 3. Or is it verse 4?
Verse 4, behold, all souls are mine, as the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall die.
Right? So now he's setting things straight. He's saying, hey, before, y'all was punishing the children. I was even punishing the children for the things that the Father did, to try to teach y'all a lesson, to think about y'all's kids, think about y'all's future. But y'all don't care about the sons in your kids' future. Y'all just care about yourselves. So now I got to make this a statement. Hey, whoever does the sin, that's the person that's going to die. The wages of sin is death. Right? Let's read verse 5.
But if a man be just and do that which is lawful and right.
Right? If a man be just and do that which is lawful and right, pay attention, because this is how you reverse the curse. Right? Read verse 6.
and hath not eaten upon the mountains, neither has lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, neither hath defiled his neighbor's wife, neither has come near to a menstruous woman.
Right? You know,
And has
that's a small little that's another small sin too. You know, our people, you know, they love to run a red light, or they say Moses split the Red Sea, and uh they'll have uh you know intercourse with women on their periods, right? This, you're not even really supposed to come near a woman on her period, but you got brothers and sisters that's, you know, just going ahead and going all out. So Lord is saying here, if you didn't come, if you didn't lift your eyes up to the idols, you know, the crystals, all the sage, all the different religions, if you didn't do that, you're a just person, right? If you haven't committed adultery, you know, a lot of us commit adultery. My thing is this: we have so many pastors nowadays from mega churches and, you know, all different type of scandals that commit adultery and still have their what's it called, their ministries, right? Back in the day, if they're actually reading the Bible, they're not supposed to have no ministry no more. Yeah, you might get forgiveness, but you ain't supposed to have that. You're supposed to be put away so that you can feel ashamed and admonished, right? You're not supposed to, if you have that high position as a bishop, a pastor, deacon, you're supposed to have a good reputation in your city. If your reputation is that you're an adulterer, you're not supposed to have that no more, right? So adultery, that's another sin. Neither has come to near a menstruous woman, right? Let's keep reading verse 7.
verse 7, and has not oppressed any, but has restored.
Not oppressed any, right? Stop scamming people, bro. Stop trying to get over on people. Stop trying to hold people down. Stop, you know, charging interest on people that borrow from you, bro. Stop oppressing people. That's a sin, right? Keep going.
Khan has spoiled none by violence.
But he has restored the debtor his pledge.
But has restored the debtor his pledge, has spoiled none by violence, has given his bread to the
You're not
hungry.
violent, right? You're not violent. A lot of us, we live to be violent, man. These are key factors in how to reverse the curse, bro. Right? If you're a just man, you're not gonna do any of this stuff, and therefore you're not gonna die. Keep going though.
Khan has given his bread to the hungry and has covered the naked with a garment.
Right? How many of y'all have done that? Right? How many of y'all have done that? Since y'all even came to the knowledge of the truth, if you're watching this video, how many of y'all have taken time to feed the hungry? A lot of y'all be sitting in y'all crib, and I want some American deli. Y'all get in the car, go to American deli. Your eyes aren't even open to the homeless. You might have passed a few homeless people out there, but you so focused on what you want, right? You don't even, you know, let me feed the hungry today. Let me clothe. How many of y'all stopped and was like, man, I got too many jackets in my closet. Let me go, you know, clothe somebody real quick. It's kind of cold outside. How many of y'all can even say y'all have done that one time in your life? Right? And if you can't say that you've done it at least one time, you might have eaten that sour grape. Right? Let's read verse 8.
Khan, he that hath not given forth upon usury, neither has taken any increase, that has withdrawn his hand from iniquity, has executed true judgment between man and man.
Right? Do you execute true judgment between man and man, or do you stay quiet? Right? I watched a movie that's called Blink Twice, and in that movie, towards the end, the dude said, "You know what your problem is? You did nothing." He said, "There's a special place in hell for people that do nothing, because you could have helped, but you didn't, and you could have did bad, but you didn't. It's a special place in hell for people that don't execute true judgment, because you let things just keep going on when you could have been a benefactor, you could have been a decision maker, you could have changed the trajectory of a certain situation, right? A just man is going to do that." Right, let's read verse 9.
Verse number 9 says, has walked in my statutes and has kept my judgments to deal truly. He is just, he shall surely live, saith the Lord.
Right? Saith the Lord God, he shall surely live. Right? You reverse the curse when you do those things. Even though all your forefathers, the people around you getting toe up from the flow up, they don't understand. It's because you reverse the curse. right? I had a conversation with a ex frat brother the other day, really last night at the gym. We had a heart to heart. We was talking Bible and things of that nature, and he was telling me there's some. He was like, and you know, we all know this. You know, when we come into the truth, it's gonna be when we start living for God. It's gonna be people that's envious of us and jealous, and people that don't want us to succeed in life. We understand that. So he was just telling me, there's a lot of people that's envious of you, and there's a lot of people that was hating on you, but the fruits of your labor prove X, Y, and Z. And he was just saying, keep doing what you're doing, man. What God has for you is for you, whether people want you to have it or not, X, Y, and Z. And we was just taking a look at all the people that he was saying was envious or jealous or whatever. We was taking a look at their lives, and they bit the sour apple, and they continue to bite the sour apple to this day, right? And that's why they have not reversed the curse. When you stay in adultery, right, fornication, you have not reversed the curse. Them curses gonna keep hitting you, right? When you stay a liar and you stay oppressing your friends that's around you, them curses gonna keep hitting you, right? When you still want to do what you want to do instead of listening to the word of God, right? And you indulge in paganism, and you indulge in surfeiting, and you drink more than you should. You're always toeing the line when it comes to promiscuity. Them curses is gonna hit you, and when they do, you gotta take that lick, because you did the crime. You bit the grape. You can't blame nobody. You can't blame God. You can't blame your ancestors. A lot of us like to blame our ancestors. Man, if it wasn't for them, man, we would still be living righteously, and like I wouldn't have this temptation. No, you would still have the temptation. You stop trying to blame somebody for something that you did, right? You had the power. You have the power to reverse the curse, right? But you don't want to. You want to do you, and you want to claim to be weak, right? Had a conversation, another conversation throughout the week, and it's a brother that I know. He's not in the truth or anything, but I love the way that he's super blunt about things. And this brother, he said, if you just want to be a sorry or a basic human being or a mid human being, keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to be a great human being, you gotta, go the extra mile, man. If you want to be set apart, right? Let's read this real quick. Deuteronomy 24:16.
Deuteronomy 24.
This is Deuteronomy.
The father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin.
So it was written in the law, man. It was written in the Torah before the word came to Ezekiel, before the word came to Jeremiah. It was written in the law. This was supposed to be a known thing, that it's who the person that does it, that person shall be put to death for his own sin, right? That person's going to reap the curses for their own sin, right? If you are a just and righteous man, like we just read, right? Even in your land of captivity, right? There's not going to be something to harm you. You're going to be able to live in the land of your captivity, right? A lot of times when we look at things that happen, now, granted, on off chance, there are people that are persecuted wrongfully, right? But when you look at why they were persecuted or where they were persecuted, was that person supposed to be there? Was that person supposed to be around those people? Was that person living right at that time, right? Even when you get lied on in this land of captivity, you got to evaluate how you ended up in that spot, right? Now, a lot of us, we're not going out like the disciples. The disciples was actually getting persecuted for Christ's name's sake. That's totally different. Now, I've yet to see that really happen. We got some brothers and sisters that get persecuted on the street. They might get put into jail and then let out in a few hours and things of that nature. And you might have a hearing and might pay a fine, do community service, right? But as far as like deep persecution, like getting life in prison and things of that nature, we ain't seeing that for Christ's name's sake. A lot of times, if that happens to you, you done did something, or you was in the wrong place, wrong time. It's still a sin to be around corrupt people. What fellowship does light have with darkness? You got to understand the things that happen to you in this life is happening because of your own sin, right? And that's why we always got to be repentant 24/7. We got to be repentant 24/7 because it's things that we've done that we don't remember that we've done that may still have a curse upon us, right? So even when you pray, ask the Lord to reveal to you something that you've done that you haven't repented for, right? That you haven't asked for forgiveness for, right? Want to
And
go
if
here?
I can add too,
Go ahead.
that's another thing too. When you go back to Deuteronomy 24:16, man, and you read how like every man is to put to death for their own sin, it turns into this thing where we see it as generational curses because all it takes is, no, I ain't gonna say all it takes is one person, because you got people now that strive to keep the commandments of spirit and the truth. But see, all it takes is one person to take that first step, and then you'll help eliminate the sin of a lot of other people that may be around you, that may know you, that you may influence, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to realize, like the brother just said, he made a mighty point. Sometimes we put ourselves in positions to go off and we don't even realize it, right? And you just got to do a good job about having some sense of self-awareness, as well as awareness for people around you. And I'm not talking about holding your pistol, making sure ain't nobody finna run up on you and jack you for your diamonds and chains, but I'm saying a sense of self-awareness, as in, like it mentions in Leviticus 19, like the brother Denal always likes to pull, a sense of self-awareness to not suffer sin upon our neighbor, right? Because again, yeah, you're going to be judged for your own actions, but at the same time, we also have to have some self of accountability to not put others under the temptation to sin, because every man's faith is different from your own, and you just got to keep that in mind. So when you, especially as a parent, like the brother Azrael mentioned earlier, how the dude was on death row and wrote a letter to his mom and talking about some, remember that time I did this and you didn't say nothing, remember that time I did that. I agree with the brother said. He ate the sour grape, right? So you can't blame your mom if you knew what you was doing was wrong. But I will say this, parents, especially parents that are young, like myself and the brothers on the screen, especially if you're a parent, if you're somebody that's younger than me and you have children, it is important, and it's overly explained why the Lord told us to teach our children the laws. Because again, when you do certain things and you let certain actions go unaddressed, children tend to think it's okay to do so because their parent is giving them the permission to do so by not correcting those actions. So it's I guess you could say it's a scale that we always gotta, weigh in a balance, and find that thin line between righteousness and iniquity.
Man. Mighty points, man. And I wanted to say sidebar real quick. The homework I have for y'all is to read 2 Kings chapter 10. That's what Jehu did. As far as getting rid of all the people in the land that served Baal. Right? Jehu, 2 Kings chapter 10. Right. I want to go here real quick to double down on what the brother Isaiah said too. Right. If we can read this, James 1:14.
This is James 1:14, but it says, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed.
Right? His own lust. Right? These generational curses are on us because of our own lust. Right? We can't keep blaming people before us, and we can't keep blaming people around us. Your own lust has enticed you. You can't blame God, because God is saying here that your own lust, not the lust that he gave you, but your own lust has enticed you. Right? These curses keep happening to you. Cursed in the city, cursed in the field, cursed in the storehouse, spread into all nations, bottom and not at the bottom and not but above, being a borrower and not a lender. Right? All these curses befall us because why? We stay in sin. You keep doing sin. And you can say, I don't do sin, man. I don't, the average person is gonna say, I don't sin. I'm a good person, man. I'm a Christian, but you sin because you don't know what sin is. You gotta understand what sin is to know what it is. And once you understand what you're doing is wrong, you gotta stop it. But a lot of times you don't know what you're doing is wrong. So you're gonna show up, just like I said in 2 Kings chapter 10, you're gonna show up when they call a meeting for Baal, because you think Baal is God. You think Allah is God. You think Buddha is God. You think it's all the same religion. You think the Pope is the Father. You think them crystals, right, is the earth giving back to us, the universe giving back to us. Hey, you could claim to be a good person all you want to, but the things that are happening in your life, a lot of times is happening because of sin. The wages of sin is death and judgment, right? But I just wanted, that's all I had, man. Just a lesson on reversing the curse. You have the power to reverse your situation. You have the power to reverse the curse, but you got to live justly. You got to live without sin. You can stop them curses from coming, them generational curses that's coming to you, right? Even on a physical level, right? We talk to people every Saturday, and we talk to people in the street. So it's like we seeing generational curses. Okay, you grew up in a single parent household. Now you have kids and you raising them in a single parent household, and you still talking bad about their father. What do you think is going to happen to their kids? And it all comes from your own lust. You slept with the man that wasn't your husband. You were okay. Your dad was an alcoholic. Now you're an alcoholic, and you're trying to keep your son from being an alcoholic, right? It's your own lust. You can't blame your dad because you did that, right? A lot of the stuff that we think is hereditary or a generational curse really is our own lust, and it's just us biting the grape, right? Now that grape may be introduced to you. It may be introduced to you. Like somebody might bring a bag of sour grapes, someone put it in the refrigerator or put it in the pantry, right? But it's up to you to eat it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, God gives you grace. He might allow you to eat it one time. You know what I'm saying? Once you eat it and you say, oh, that's a sour grape. That's what that green color is. It's a sour grape. And you have the choice the next time somebody brings it in the house if you're going to eat it or not. You can't eat it and be like, oh, I didn't know that was sour anymore, right? So you got the power to reverse the curse, man. I hope this was edifying. Do the brothers got any precepts or scriptures?
You can start in you go to Tobit.
I just knew it was going to be the Apocrypha.
Tobit chapter 13, and I'll start at verse 6. We can really just read 6.
The book of Tobit, chapter 13 and verse 6. If you turn to him with your whole heart.
One thing I want to point out here is that Tobit is in his land of captivity. I think they're in Nineveh, if I'm not mistaken, right? He's in his land of captivity, right? And he's speaking to those that are in captivity with him, right? What's he say? Read that from the top one more time.
If you turn to him with your whole heart and with your whole mind and deal uprightly before him.
If you do the things you're commanded to do, right? The brother talked about reversing the curse, right? Tobit is about to give you a crash course on reversing the curse in your land of captivity, right? Keep reading.
Then he will turn unto you and will not hide his face from you.
If you turn unto him, he will turn unto you. That's reversing the curse. Right now, we find ourselves in an awakened state, but even after being woken up, we found ourselves with God's face turned away from us. But if we turn to him, he will turn to us. And next thing you know, we're face to face, right? Keep reading.
And confess him with your whole mouth. Therefore, see what he will do with you, and confess him with your whole mouth, and praise the Lord of might, and extol the everlasting King.
Right.
In the land of my captivity do I praise him.
He's letting you know what to do in your land of captivity, man. You should be doing all these things, right? Confessing your sin, confessing your faults, right? Extolling him, doing what is commanded of you, right? Do this in the land of your captivity. Keep reading.
And declare his might and majesty to a sinful nation.
Even amongst a sinful nation, right? Whether it be your nation or heathens, right? If you declare this stuff, right? Even though it sounds crazy, to our people and to others, even though it sounds crazy, if we do what we're supposed to do, We do away with the crab boils, and we do away with the pork. We do away with these pagan holidays and all this stuff, right? In the land of our captivity, amongst sinners. Keep reading.
Con, O ye sinners, turn and do justice before him. Who
Watch
can
this.
tell? Who can tell? Slakia. Who can tell if he will accept you and have mercy on you?
Right. We don't know. Now he can do whatever he wants to, right? But I like the question mark at the end of this is because it leaves room for hope. I talked to my grandmother not too long ago, and we talked about hope, right? And hope is a powerful thing, right? Because this question mark, it leaves room for hope, right? As far as saying, who knows whether he might turn your situation around in your land of captivity, right?
Try him out.
It leaves room for hope. That means you don't have to stay in these curses. There's hope that you can come out of them. You know what I'm saying? In the land of your captivity, because that's where Tobit is, right? If you keep reading this whole passage, it talks about how God has blessed him in his land of captivity. Even in our land of captivity, the things that he's promised us was being fruitful, building houses, starting our own vineyards and stuff like that. Even little things like that are a blessing, right? For him to, because in the curses, he said that we would plant vineyards and not be able to partake in them, right? So if he's letting us have the opportunity to start vineyards and reap what we sow, literally, right? The fruits of our labor. My wife has a garden here. I'm sure the brothers' wives have little gardens at their houses as well, right? To be able to, my mom has a garden, right? To be able to harvest in our land of captivity and keep that stuff for ourselves. We don't got to pay taxes on it or anything like that. It's a blessing, right? To be able to have a roof over our head is a blessing. To be able to be fruitful and multiply is a blessing in our land of captivity. And so all these things that I just mentioned go against the curses. But if you're able to do that in the land of captivity, it's a blessing, and it's proof that you can reverse the curses, if not for the whole nation, for yourself individually, like the brother was saying. But Khan, I yield.
I just got.
I'll say this real quick. I like the way Tobit said it too, because it's like saying, hey, try God out. What's the worst that can happen? He may be able to help your situation.
But right? You got to lose.
But Khan, go ahead, Isaiah.
Khan, Romans 10, right? I read this often because at the end of the day, man, I mean, it's really the truth when you look around in today's time. Romans 10, we can start at verse number 1, right?
Book of Romans, chapter 10 and verse 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved.
Now, question now, before you keep reading, we read in Ezekiel 18 earlier, right? And another chapter, I want to say it's that same chapter, where it talks about how the Most High doesn't take pleasure in killing the wicked, right? He would rather that they repent. So it's the same thing Paul is praying right here. His heart desire and prayer for Israel is that they might be saved. It's the same thing with brothers who teach on the street corners. We'd rather our people repent. It's the same thing with the Most High God. He'd rather you turn your heart. Just like Tobit just said, I mean, what is, like the question was posed, right? I mean, what do you truly have to lose, right? What do you have to lose out on if you choose to say, okay, I'm no longer going to break the Sabbath. Okay, I'm no longer, I'm no longer going to commit adultery. Okay, I'm no longer going to give into fornication, which adultery is a part of fornication as well. Okay, I'm no longer going to, eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. Okay, I'm no longer going to celebrate my birthday. The only thing that you're going to name that you're going to miss out on all these things are, like the brother read earlier in James 1:14, your own lust, right? And your own lust is not what's going to make you righteous in the eyes of God. It never has, and it never will. So if you want to truly change your life around, if you want to do away with a lot of the situations and circumstance that you're living in and the conditions that our people are in, if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at yourself. Because of all the things I just named, that what do you have to lose if you give these up? If you start explaining to me as to why you don't want to give them up, or you can't give them up, or you don't think you should, that very much explains that it, again, is your own lust, right? And you just have to truly admit to say, I'd rather fulfill the lust of my flesh than serve the will of God, right? Now let's just finish out verse 2 through 3.
Verse 2. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. Verse 3. I think
Salakia. Could you read verse 2 over again? I think I lagged out.
you did. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge.
Right. Our people want to have a zeal of the Lord, but they don't have it according to knowledge. Like the brother said, we know all these Negro spirituals. We know all these hymns. We go to church. We want to dance. We want to praise, which is cool and all. There's nothing wrong with wanting to praise the Lord. But see, the problem is you got to do it in spirit and in truth. You know, not just on Sundays when the camera is rolling, but you got to do it according to the knowledge of the commandments of the Lord, because that's what matters most about the actions that you do pertaining to the laws of God, not about how hard you sweat after a praise break at church. You know, let's keep reading.
On verse 3. For they being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God.
So we've established our own sense of righteousness, and that's why we have people going on social media rants about you would really serve a God that does X, Y, and Z, because they are self-righteous. They've established their own sense of what righteousness is, because they think that, again, like the brother said, you ask people, and we hear it all the time on the street corners, you ask people, you know, do they sin? And they say, no, I don't sin. I'm a good person. And their definition of good is defined by whatever they make up, whatever they want good to be, whatever the world says good is. And you'll see it's very seldomly linked back to the laws of God. So again, in order for our people to change our situation of circumstance, in order for you to break or reverse the curse, like the brother Azrael says, you have to go get yourself familiar with the laws of God and repent. And repent means to not do it again. You can't just do it again. You can't fall into the same temptation and wonder why you're still struggling with fighting off that temptation. Because as long as you give yourself over to it, if you don't discipline yourself to overcome it, you're always going to be a victim to it, right? And it's the same thing with every curse that's mentioned in Deuteronomy, that's mentioned in Jeremiah, that's mentioned in Isaiah, that's mentioned in Exodus, that's mentioned in Numbers, Leviticus, whatever. Wherever there's a curse mentioned and it's associated with breaking the commandments of the Lord, you're going to keep falling over into it, and you're not going to reverse it until you get yourself familiar with the laws of God, repent, and put down your own righteousness, your own lust, and submit yourself to the righteousness of the Most High. But mighty lesson. Salakia for being long-winded, but now you.
And you know, for the person out there that is saying, man, a curse is just so hard to break, right? If God put curses out there, right, you know, and we reap those curses, why not go back to the same being that created the curse to break the curse, right? Go back to the same being that created the curse to break the curse. That's what makes sense. You can't break the curse any other way but going to the person that put the curse on you. That's like if you're living in the old English days and a king made a decree. The only way that decree doesn't stand is if the king changes his mind. Coming up on Purim, Esther had to change King Ahasuerus or Xerxes. She had to change his mind, right? Because he made a decree, right? The only way to change a decree or to change a curse, right? At that time of Purim, they had that curse of pure on them, which was oppression, right? Only way to change that is to go to the person that decreed it, right? So I want to end on this, right? This came to mind, Hosea 6 and verse 1. And then we'll get up out of here, right? I don't like the way this is reading. Let me go here. Hosea 6 and 1. Salakia, let me make it big. If somebody can read this for me, Hosea 6 and 1.
Hosea 6 and 1, and it says, come and let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up.
He's the only one that can reverse that curse. You got to return to him. And how you return to him is by your actions. You got to stop sinning. You got to stop being where you're not supposed to be. You got to stop doing what you're not supposed to do. You got to stop saying what you're not supposed to say. You got to stop talking with the people that you're not supposed to be talking with. Return to the Lord, repent. If you're not gathering, you're scattering, right? Shabbat Shalom. Hope everybody has a peaceful day. It's a hopeful elect. Hopefully this lesson was edifying, and we say Shalom.
Shalom.